Hi everyone, my name is Martina. I'm certified holistic nutritionist, and in today's video we're going to be covering topic of cognitive health and brain health, and what should we do in particular to retain health in this area also in the higher age, right? Now, usually the cognitive decline is associated with dementia and Alzheimer's, right? Most commonly. And these two are diagnosed at average about 65 years of age, right? That's an average age. But it doesn't mean that even younger people are not experiencing these unfortunate conditions. The truth is they are, and the more often this is occurring even at the younger people. Now, what are the areas we need to pay attention to if we'd like to retain cognitive alertness and brain health also in the higher age and prevent the cognitive decline? So when it comes to brain health, we would need to focus on 5 main areas. So the first one is nutrition, right? And we are going to be talking in details about this. The second one is physical activity. Third one would be sleep, sufficient sleep and good quality of sleep, as well as stress management and toxic exposure. So these are the 5 main areas we would need to keep in mind when we are talking about the brain health. So let's start from the end a little bit into the details. Now, when I say the toxic exposure, that can have many levels, right? And multiple areas comes to mind when we touch the toxins, right? Now, environmental pollution is definitely the one we could affect on individual level most difficult, right? That is very little we can do on our individual basis to improve the air quality outside, right? To improve the soil quality, unless we have our little gardens, right? So the environmental pollution is one of the things which are very difficult to influence on our individual level. However, there are a few things we can do at homes and through our choices that can improve the way how we live and limit perhaps or decrease the toxic exposure. One of such would be the mindfulness about the cleaning material, washing, which we do use, or as well as cosmetics, right? So there are a lot of products that are eco-friendlier than those ones which you would find most probably 10 years ago. There is also a lot of body care and facial care products, dermatologic products that are more environmental friendly, hence also for us more beneficial, right? So these are few things which we could do on our individual basis to reduce the toxic exposure, as well as perhaps being mindful about the pharmaceuticals that we take, right? It doesn't mean that we should be dropping on medication that is helping us with something else, right? But we perhaps could be more discerning whether the painkiller is definitely really necessary for us to take, right? So this kind of unnecessary medication where we perhaps reach out to way too quickly, right? So this is also a point which we could be more mindful about. When it comes to stress management, that was the fourth point, it's very difficult to remove the stress completely from our lives, right? And it's supposed not to be also the point to strive to avoid the stress completely, because at certain situation it can be truly mindful and meaningful, not mindful but meaningful, to feel stress somewhat, right? But when we are having long period when we feel under pressure, even chronic stress, that truly does have detrimental effect on overall our body, including the brain. And as I have said, it's supposed to be not the target to remove the stress, but rather to learn to work with stress and manage the stress. There are a lot of ways how we can do that, and some means are more fitting to certain people than others. And it doesn't mean that we should be all doing everything to we manage stress, right? We should be finding something which is fitting for us, right? And it can be any sort of exercise, it can be yoga, it can be just walk in the nature or sitting in the nature, really touching with the soil, or meditation, calming music, right? So there are multiple ways how we can manage stress, and we need to find the one that is most fitting for us, whatever it may be, right? So managing the stress is also important when we find ourselves going through this period, right? The third one I have mentioned is sleep. We know that sleep is incredibly important, but there are periods of lives that we, during the stress, for example, when we do not get enough sleep, right? Now, how can sleep affect really the brain health? And that is quite on multiple levels. During the sleep, brains releases the toxins, believe it or not, they are accumulated in the brain as well, and especially beta amyloids that are connected to Alzheimer's, right? Furthermore, the sleep does influence also brain plasticity, which is nothing else than the ability of the brain to adapt and reorganize itself, right? During the night, also brain processes the memories, meaning is dividing and organizing the experiences and events from the day before, right? Or even from the longer period of times, but also does influence, sleep does influence the attention and ability and the cognitive performance in general, right? So there are right away multiple levels what sleep does for the brain health, right? Now, the second one is physical activity, which I have mentioned. And when I say physical activity, people right away think of exercise, but it's not necessarily so, or it does not have to be so. Physical activity is everything which we are not, where we are not sedentary or we are not really passive laying down. So it is, for example, gardening. It is household work or cleaning, washing the windows, right? This all is physical activity, along with such a simple thing as walk, which is still quite underestimated on the benefit side, right? What kind of benefit has just a simple walk or taking the stairs when you can, right? But there is also the targeted physical activity, which would be the exercise. Now, when it comes to exercise, usually we hear, or very often we hear, that we should be entertaining in the cardiovascular health promoting exercise, such as running or biking, right? And the strength training or weight lifting, weight training for our strength health and the muscle maintenance, right? And while this is definitely true, let's be honest, these exercises are not for everybody. And not everybody likes to walk, and not everybody likes to hit the gym. That's simple the truth. And so when it comes to physical exercise, we should be finding ourselves something which we enjoy and something which we are able to stick to for a longer period of time, or long period of time rather, right? And whether is it biking, or is it swimming, or is it playing tennis or anything like, it doesn't really what is it that you enjoy. It's most important to do exercise that you enjoy and that you do over a long period of time, because even this will have a benefit for the brain as well as other areas of our health, right? Now, how does physical activity influence the brain? And that is in quite substantial and important way. Any kind of physical activity does stimulate the new neurons creation in the brain, right? And that is exactly what we want for the long-term brain health, also in the higher age. That is exactly what is causing the brain health, the new neurons, right? Now, especially targeted physical activity does support creation of the new neurons in multiple centers of the brain, but I'll name the three that they are typically connected to Alzheimer's and dementia, right? So the first one would be hippocampus. Hippocampus is the area of the brain connected to the memory and the learning, right? That is what we want, obviously, to be healthy during the entire life. Another area stimulated positively by exercise is prefrontal cortex. And this area is responsible for our ability to plan and to organize and also for multitasking, right? The third one, which I will mention, is amygdala. Amygdala is little, small, almond-shaped structure deep within the brain and is responsible for connecting emotions to our memories, right? Is also responsible for emotional response in general, and it's helping brain or the other areas of brain, such as hippocampus, which is responsible for memories, to create the memories and formate the memories. Hence, as I have mentioned, process the memories and assign the emotion to what we remember, which is also important, right? So all these three areas, but not only these three areas, right? There are others, as I have mentioned, are really positively stimulated through the new neurons creation through the exercise, any kind of exercise, right? So the entertaining in the physical activity for about 150 minutes in the week, any times of activity, is truly contributing also for our mental alertness and brain and cognitive health, right? And now we come to the nutrition. So what if the brain had a say-so? And if the brain was to choose what we are going to be eating for its own health, what would we be finding on our plate? So let's talk about this. As the first one, our brain would choose fiber and antioxidants from non-leafy vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, and fruits. So these would be the first and the most abundant thing we would be finding on our plate. Non-starchy vegetables are our leafy greens, is cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli and cauliflower, cabbage, kale, or Brussels sprouts, right? It's also root vegetables, carrots and parsley, but also nightshades. These are aubergines, eggplants, and tomatoes. But further on, also onions and leeks, which are important. Also bell peppers, cucumbers, radishes, right? All these non-starchy vegetables are full of antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and water. That is exactly what our brain wants, along with fruits. Many times there are many voices out there who are saying we should not be eating fruits because it does contain fructose and the sugar and it's not good for our health. Now, from a nutritional point of view, this statement is complete and utter nonsense. Fruits contain vitamins, antioxidants, minerals, and water, right? Well, there will be difference what kind of fruits certain people would be eating or should be eating. There will be difference what how much fruits certain people would be eating, right? As well as the timing when should we be eating fruits, right? So these are variables that are important and are depending on our overall health, right? For example, a diabetic person would be benefiting from low fructose fruits, right? And should not be really opting for the grapes or bananas that do have high amount of fructose in comparison to the person who doesn't have diabetes, right? Or people who are very physically active can eat more fruits than the people who are not, right? So there are variables. However, to say that we should not be eating fruit is absolutely inaccurate. Now, from the antioxidants and minerals and vitamins that all these foods do supply, the ratio vegetables versus fruits should be 80 to 20, meaning the antioxidants and the minerals we should be getting mostly from the non-starchy vegetables, and then about 20% only from the fruits, right? So that is the most important and most abundant food group our brain would put on the plate. The second one would be starchy vegetables and legumes. Now, legumes are being kind of shied away from the Western world in many ways, and that is quite unfortunate because they are excellent source of all different kinds of compounds, right? Now, beans are usually something which people do not like, and we hear, yeah, beans, we should be eating beans because they have so much good stuff, and they do, really. But it doesn't mean that we should, legume doesn't mean only the beans, right? There is a chickpea, and there is lentils, and there is soy, and there is fava beans or peas. You just choose whatever you prefer, whatever you do like. If you do not like beans but prefer chickpeas, that is absolutely all right. If you prefer peas and not the beans, that is also absolutely all right. Just make sure that you include legumes in your weekly meal plans at least once, ideally 3 and more times. I've made a video about that, about how to master legumes, because, for example, bloating is the reason why people shy away from the legumes, but there is a way how to avoid it. So there is a video on my channel about that, mastering the legumes, if that's the reason why, if the bloating or the indigestion in many ways is the reason why you shy away, go ahead and watch that. It might be helpful for you, right? So choose the legumes which you prefer, right? Which you enjoy and which you like. I've mentioned also starchy vegetables, and these are the yams and sweet potatoes and squash, for example, right? Even the regular potatoes. Carbohydrates are important for brain, right? Brain is depending on glucose. And even if the people are living on ketogenic diet and very low carbohydrate food, right, nutrition, the brain still does get glucose. And so the carbohydrate, there are a lot of fear about it. They're causing weight gain. Now we need to say that no, not all carbohydrates are created equal. And they are a very beneficial one, and they are perhaps not so beneficial one, right? And so starchy vegetables and legumes are also carbohydrate-rich foods, right? And if we learn to cook them rightly, and as well as, for example, whole grains such as quinoa or buckwheat, right? They do contain special legumes resistant starch. And I will make separate video of the importance and health benefits of resistant starch that can help us also in the weight loss. So this is definitely which should be on our plate, and our brain would definitely choose at least 1 to 3 times to have a legumes during the week, right? So that is the second important thing. The third one would be healthy fats. And equally to carbohydrates, that not fats are not all carbohydrates are created equal. The same is valid for the fat, and the same is valid also for the protein, as a matter of fact, right? But for the brain health, it's important to focus on omega-3, right? Omega-3 fatty acids, we know that we should be eating them, and there are 2 types. EPA and DHA, right? There are 2 types of omega-3s, and especially the DHA is important for the brain health. And it comes from unsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acid, to be precise, right? Polyunsaturated fatty acid is important for the brain health. Now, polyunsaturated fatty acid can be so omega-6 as well as omega-3. And we need to be really educated in this area, which fats are what. There is so much confusion as well, which is really resulting in the fear of fat, which is also not correct, right? If you are not familiar with what kind of fats are good, or how to really be navigating the world of fats, there is a video on my channel, Fats Decoded, I guess I named it, where it's a very simple and easy way explaining which fats are fitting for cooking, which fats are not fitted for cooking and why. What should we be paying attention when we buy fats, right? Oils especially. So this is the video where it will be very easy explaining to you what should we be paying attention when it comes down to fats. Now, fats, people usually think of oil, right? But it does not necessarily need to be really oil. And when it comes to food, and any food really, we should be coming to the most original form, which in fact it's either nuts or seeds, right? And so the polyunsaturated fats that are so important for the brain are present in fatty fish, in salmon or mackerel or even sardines, right? These are containing polyunsaturated fats, but also seeds, predominantly seeds, such as sunflower seed, pumpkin seed, hemp seed, flaxseed, sesame seed. I mean, you get the point, right? These seeds are containing mostly polyunsaturated fatty acids. However, as I have said, they can be omega-6 and they can be omega-3. We need omega-6. The truth is that we need more omega-6 than omega-3. And since we are so bombarded about the importance of omega-3, which is absolutely valid point, right? People think that we do not need omega-6, but also we need to be able to differentiate between saturated and polyunsaturated fats, etc., right? So which seeds to choose, which are in omega-3 fatty acids rich and are polyunsaturated fats, right? So number one would be flax seeds. Number two would be hemp seeds. And number three, we could do also canola seeds or canola oil. However, quality when choosing oils is incredibly important. So watch that video if you are not aware how to choose the oils properly or correctly and what to do to maintain their quality even longer period of time upon opening the oils, right? So these three are omega-3 rich. However, it doesn't mean that we should be shying away from the others, right? If we choose seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, even though they are omega-6, they have more omega-6 than omega-3, they're still polyunsaturated fats that we need for our brain, right? So diversity and variation is the key. So the polyunsaturated fats in form of fish and in form of seeds as well as nuts would be the third thing our brain would choose to put on the plate, right? So these are three most important food groups that we need to have in mind in a prevention of cognitive decline and retention of cognitive health. Now, obviously, we do need also protein, right? But for brain, it's not so much about a protein. It's for muscle, right? Muscle does need protein. But for brain, it is truly antioxidants, water, minerals, and the right amount of fat and the right amount of glucose for the overall health and alertness. Now, what is harming the brain from the food choices which we do? The number one would be trans fatty acids. These are truly detrimental to our health in general, but most importantly, to brain. So trans fats need to stay away from our lifestyle and nutrition. Mindful and conservative consumption of alcohol would be coming into the picture as well when we talk about the brain health. Over excess of anything is not good. And even small amount of alcohol is not really beneficial for brain health. Now, I do not say that you should not be drinking and have occasional drink, right? Because from occasional point of view, you have drink here and then once at the celebration, for example, once in 2-3 months, it will not cause you any harm. But daily excessive or even regular excessive consumption of alcohol, and regular can be even like every weekend, it is detrimental to the brain health as well, right? So food low in micronutrients and antioxidants would most probably be number three, which I would include in the brain harming category or not benefiting category, let's say, right? So I don't think there is anything worse for a human to come to the point that you can't remember what you've done 10 minutes ago, that you do not recognize your close one, you do not recognize the environment you spend your life in, right? So, in my opinion, this is one of the worst health conditions which we unfortunately might experience. But there is a way to prevent it through our lifestyle and the food choices. So now you know what to do to stimulate brain health, to retain cognitive health also in the higher age. And it's not that difficult altogether when we understand how our body works. So that's all for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.